Hello! Today we're going to be talking about Janina Scarlet, a psychologist who specializes in and created a type of therapy called superhero therapy. Janina Scarlet is a licensed clinical psychologist. She's also written several books about the type of therapy she does. She specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy, cognitive processing, and self-compassion, and then acceptance and commitment types of therapy, which I'll get into more when we start discussing the actual superhero therapy. Backstory on Janina, because it's super important later. She was born in the Ukraine, and when she was 3 years old, she was affected by the Chernobyl incident of 1986, which led to issues with radiation later down the line, especially after she immigrated to US and avoided persecution when she was about 12 years old. When she immigrated, she faced bullying from her peers in school because she didn't speak much English and because she had this radiation sickness and was from Ukraine. People mocked her and called her radioactive and wouldn't touch her and successfully isolated her and made her feel alone. However, she felt less alone after discovering the X-Men movies, and having seen them, it made her feel a sense of, not pride, that's not the word I'm looking for, but almost belonging, because there were these heroes and they were like her, they were mutants and different, but they were still heroes and they still wanted to help people. And the superhero that she related to the most was Storm from X-Men, because they have very similar qualities. Storm's superpowers that she controls the weather and she's affected by the weather, and Janina is also affected by the weather. Something that came along with her radiation sickness was that the weather severely affected her, specifically rain would often give her seizures and make her so ill she would have to be hospitalized. So you can only imagine that this left her feeling different sorts of ways growing up, but she powered through it and ended up getting a degree in psychology and ended up creating superhero therapy, which I'm going to explain superhero therapy in my own words real quick because I don't want to plagiarize or copy anything. Superhero therapy is essentially taking a character that a patient relates to and can I would say project. From what I've read, it's kind of like projecting, and using that to help your patient cope with what they're going through and help create relatability between the patient and the character that can help them move on and handle the situation or the disorders that they are having. One of the examples that Janina used in the Heroes Roundtable was that she had PTSD patients, veterans specifically, who oftentimes brought up Superman, and they would talk about Superman and like they wanted to be Superman, they wanted to be a hero for their country, and now they're here and they're mentally ill or disabled in some way, and she would go, hey, you know, Superman isn't just Superman, he's also Clark Kent, he also has weaknesses, he can't be around kryptonite, kryptonite can kill him, and he's still Superman, he's still a hero, so you're still a hero. And you know, things like that, which I personally find really interesting. That's actually why I picked her, was because I personally have a thing for superheroes, specifically DC Comics, don't at me. But I just found it interesting how she's using superheroes, and then she broadened her sphere into fictional characters, into different versions like Star Trek, Supernatural, Harry Potter. She has several books written about all three of the ones that I've stated, which I'll go ahead and link her Amazon down below, so if you want to check them out or whatever. And I would recommend the books. I'm working on getting my hands on one because I find her just that interesting. Something else to note about this is, and also, again, why I picked it, is because I think growing up, every little kid wants to be a princess, a superhero, a wizard, a vampire, a werewolf. And I think that ability of like being able to relate to something fictional and being able to apply that to real world mental illnesses is so important, because I think it's an easier way to explain to both children and adults how to cope with issues without being like, all right, you need to do Chinese breathing exercises, but rather giving them a model to relate to that's gone through something similar to what they're going through. Another example with veterans is Barbara Gordon, Batgirl from DC, because she was also a great hero and then disabled. But my 5 minutes is almost up, so thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I hope this was informational enough, and if it wasn't, well, I'm taking the L on my grade and it'll be fine. The rest of this video, I'm going to be talking more about why I really enjoy the superhero therapy and then the drawing, because if you haven't noticed, this video is 18 freaking minutes long because iMovie wouldn't let me make it faster, and I really wanted to condense it down, but yeah. So moving on, 5 minutes, yep, we're at the time. Okay, woo! So the superhero therapy and why it is so important to me personally. Not just because I relate to superhero characters, but just because I was really raised around superheroes a lot my whole life. My stepdad was super into Superman, and that was kind of the thing we did, was we would go see the new DC Marvel movie together. But I digress. I find it really important, especially nowadays, with everything else going on, and with the diverse range of fictional characters that we have now. Like, obviously, this form of therapy would have been nonsensical a good 60 years ago, because you're going to tell a patient with PTSD that they're Superman? No, they're going to get a lobotomy. Come on, I know. Yes, I'm reflecting back to that, sorry. But I find it interesting, especially now that we're in an era of fandom culture, especially because there are things like, fan comics and fan fiction and fan art that exist now that really reflect this ability that we have as humans, where we use characters to help us cope and get through things, especially fictional works. I wish I could find something where she talked about that, so I'm going to talk about it instead, sorry. And I'm going to link all my resources down below. By the way, all my sources will be linked down below that I used for this video and researching her. But yeah, especially because this is going to sound super nerdy or whatever, but I'm someone who really likes to write a lot of introspective work about fictional characters and why they are the way that they are. And I'm not kidding. I have over 100 pages in my Google Docs folder just written about Bruce Wayne because I am that into it. And maybe that's weird, maybe that's crazy, I don't know. But I digress. Yeah, I digress. But it's just interesting. And I am seriously considering buying one of her books because I'm curious. I wish I could have gotten one sooner because I would have loved to read and have more information for this video. But I would recommend looking her up for anyone that really likes superheroes and is also mentally ill, because I feel like you'll find a wonderful resource in Janina and her work and her backstory. It's inspiring, and I'll be honest, I just like seeing women being successful. I like seeing women doing what they love, and it's clear that she's certainly doing what she loves. And now I'm going to talk about the painting. Yes, I'm segueing into the painting. Sorry. So this painting took me about an hour and 20 minutes over the course of 2 days, and the reason why I chose to paint instead of doing like a slideshow or a poster was because I don't get the excuse to draw very often. I draw in all of my psych classes, believe me, but I've never gotten to draw for my psych class. So here I am. This is my best attempt at a portrait of Janina Scarlet herself. I will say I couldn't look at a reference for a lot of this because I did it in class, but I'm still really proud of it. It looks similar to her. I think my style is really stylized and it's not quite realistic enough to really capture her as well as I wanted to, but I had a lot of fun with it. I have been trying to get back into rendering, which is basically just like painting and making it look realistic and nice and pretty. But I also still have my weird cartoony roots from when I really wanted to be an animation major. Oopsies. That wasn't happening. But I'm really glad that I did this because it kind of reflects back to Janina Scarlet's thing herself. Play off of what you know and play off of your strengths, I would say, and do something that you love to do. And if that happens to be drawing a portrait of a psychologist, this is what it's going to be. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I hope this is going to pass. I genuinely do. If it doesn't, I'm simply just going to start crying. Just kidding, I won't. But yeah, I used Procreate for this, and I primarily used the acrylic brush, the airbrush, the paint, just the regular circle paintbrush. I used a pencil to line the entire thing, and I had a reference of Janina Scarlet on the side. Some mistakes that I can notice just from rewatching this footage again: I made her skin a little too saturated and a little too dark. Janina is very pale, and I guess I just forgot about that. I think if I would have changed the color of the background, I would have made her more Janina looking. Her eyes are a little bit too big as well, but that is, again, just a style thing. If I was going for more realism, I think I would have made them a bit smaller and proportioned out her face better. What I'm proud about this drawing is the nose, because I'm shit literally at painting noses. I'm really bad at it. I think I could have done better work on her eyes. I completely forgot to put in pupils. Oops. But other than that, I'm really proud of her hair. Hair's hard, man. You can't, hair's hard. Hair's difficult. And I don't think I personally can talk for 18 minutes, so the rest of this video might just be either music or I'm just going to straight cut it off and just show you the end product because lazy and tired. And this was a project for school that wasn't supposed to be this long, which is why I'm putting timestamps in the video, hopefully, if I can do that and figure it out and make it look nice and pretty and fun. I digress. I am proud of this. I genuinely am. I'm just glad that I was able to do something I love for a project, something I enjoy doing. It was relaxing and it was really cathartic to do after a lot of reading and studying and typing and essay writing. This was a breath of fresh air. Again, I'm going to link everything that I used in reference for this video. Even though it looks like I didn't use much, I did use many a source. I'll link it below if you want to take a look at it, if you're interested in her. I'll also link her Amazon seller site so you can check out the books that she has, and then the videos the Heroes Roundtable video that I talk about a lot. If you enjoyed watching, thank you. Consider subscribing because odds are I'm probably going to do something like this again because I enjoyed doing it that much. Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye. Oops.